Today, we'll be talking about some politics and literature. Just something fun to do, why not? So, I'm going to be looking at some politics in Harry Potter. Where does politics show up in Harry Potter? Politics shows up all kinds of places in literature, and so it's something fun to kind of look through those things if you're interested in that sort of thing. So you can learn some pretty good political truths through literature, through fiction. So really, there's not a lot in the first book, not a ton to deal with um, politics, but I think that, and she would strongly disagree with me on this, but I think J.K. Rowling is a libertarian and doesn't know it yet because she has so many libertarian themes and ideas running around in Harry Potter that I think she's more sympathetic to the libertarian way of thinking than even she thinks. So after Harry finds out that he's a wizard, you're a wizard, Harry, and Harry's like, you're a Harry wizard. Hagrid's reading the newspaper, he's reading the Daily Prophet on the boat as he's taking Harry away to Diagon Alley, and this is in chapter 5, and he's reading, and Harry's watching him read the newspaper, and then he says to Harry, he says, Ministry of Magic messing things up as usual, Hagrid muttered, turning the page. There's a Ministry of Magic, Harry asked before he could stop himself. Of course, said Hagrid. They wanted Dumbledore for minister, of course. But he'd never leave Hogwarts, so old Cornelius Fudge got the job. Bungler if ever there was one, so he pelts Dumbledore with owls every morning asking for advice. So, Hagrid, the first kind of political opinion in Harry Potter comes from Hagrid. He's reading the Daily Prophet, kind of staying informed as far as uh, wizarding news, and notice that media source that'll become important later on in uh, looking at media in Harry Potter and how that plays into the political aspect. But Hagrid actually has some uh, kind of, I don't know if they're anti-government, but some kind of negative perspective as far as the government of the Ministry of Magic. He says they're messing things up as usual. That his view of the ministry is that they don't really handle business that well. That what they're good at is messing things up. So Hagrid, I don't know if he's a libertarian, but he has a little bit of a cynical view of government. And think about it. Here he asks, there's a ministry of magic. Why is there a ministry of magic? Why do wizards themselves require a certain government? Think about it. They live in a somewhat normal life among muggles in a lot of uh, cases. Can't they just be under that government? Do wizards really need their own separate type of government unless they're living in a completely wizarding environment? Is another type of government required for wizards because of the aspects of magic and magical creatures and all that? So Harry's surprised. He asks, if there's a ministry of magic. And then Hagrid gives this interesting comment on Dumbledore. And this comes up a couple times throughout the books. Dumbledore's a genius. Dumbledore's great at resolving conflict. Dumbledore is great at leadership. And, he's painted as the hero, really, in Harry Potter in many aspects. And so the question comes up, why is this man not Minister of Magic? Why is Dumbledore not in the in charge position, what we might view as the top position? And I think there's something interesting to learn here. And this is something that I think we can take from literature here, is that people who do great things in the world, people who accomplish great things, they don't have to do so through government. They're not just limited to doing great things through government. That Dumbledore's decided to pursue betterment of the world through education, through shaping young minds, through his job at Hogwarts as headmaster, and the other things he's involved in, because he is involved in some uh, government, the wizarding courts and things of that nature. But of course, everybody wants him to be Minister of Magic. It's like when a kid is, really good at something, really smart, or has some uh, bright political opinions. Everyone's like, you should be president. You got to be president. You got to run for office. But we don't necessarily need to have that view, because there's so much good that can be done in the world that can take place independently of government, and in a lot of places in spite of government. And so same with Dumbledore. He chooses his priorities not to be involved with the government. So um, you get an incompetent person like Cornelius Fudge. Um, would Dumbledore have done as much, been as successful if he was Minister of Magic? Would he have done more? Would he have done less? I don't know. But so you get someone incompetent like Fudge. And then Harry goes on to ask, but what does a Ministry of Magic do? Well, their main job is to keep it from the Muggles that there's still witches and wizards up and down the country. Why? Why? Blimey, Harry, everyone would be wanting magical solutions to their problems. Now we're best left alone. Interesting. So what's the main job, according to Hagrid, now he may not be correct on this, but what's the main job of the Ministry of Magic? What is it supposed to do? Its main job is to keep the secret that there are still wizards and witches from the non-magical community. Why is this necessary? Think about that, because it's mentioned later on that this became necessary as a solution to the fact that wizards and witches were put to death, were persecuted, and things of that nature. But in this day and age, would that really be necessary? Could possibly magical solutions in the world be to the benefit of the world and the betterment of the world? Could they solve problems that we have now? Could they be brought into the advantage of the free market and capitalism? Think, we don't have wands, but think of the world that Harry Potter lives in. It's old, it's medieval in a lot of ways, and they have magic and they have different things like that. We don't have wands, but we have iPhones. We have things that can do things that arguably the wands can't do. And it's not not magic, but imagine if magic was wizards and witches in this case, in this story. They weren't kept secret. They just lived among us. They were people who had different powers. Is this for the safety of the Muggles that they're kept secret? Is it for the safety now of the wizards and witches? Do you really think that certain communities wouldn't be more open to this, and over time that people would just maybe accept this as normal? But Hagrid's explanation is pretty interesting. Harry said, well, why does it have to be kept secret? And Hagrid says the solution is everyone would be wanting magical solutions to their problems. If magical solutions are available, why shouldn't they want those solutions to their problems? Is the wizarding community being selfish with withholding their knowledge and use of magic from the non-magic community? They could solve a lot of problems. They could coordinate a lot of things that could solve, certain things like poverty and different issues, health issues and things like that. Think of the knowledge that's contained in St. Mungo's and the wizarding hospitals and things like that cures that Muggles don't have. Why just keep that back for the magical community? Something to think about. Is this selfish? On the other hand, why not keep to ourselves? That's what Hagrid's saying. He said we're best left alone. That we don't have to be totally integrated to the rest of the world. We're best left in our own distinct communities that are kept secret from the rest of the world. So maybe it's not selfishness, it's just a desire to freely associate. See, there's that government concept of freedom of association, being able to associate with those whom you want to associate, and freedom to be left alone, not having to be forced to associate with others by government force.